world surrounded by franchises, reboots, and shared universes. An elite team of podcasters will risk body and soul to investigate the depths of intellectual properties, one multiverse, subgenre, and trend at a time. Who are we? We're the IP Squad. Welcome back to the IP Squad, our ongoing investigation of films based on pulp and comic strip heroes. I'm John Campbell. With me, of course, for this investigation, the Jones Boys.
Yo, yo.
Yo, yo.
Let me tell you, John, I always come in hot, as you know, because I'm from the street.
We have to be hot.
I just want to give a special shout out to my partner here on the streets, Specs, who always plays it by the book. He spent a little too much time in the library last night, and he gave himself a little bit of a headache, so we got to be careful with him. You know, we want him, because I get him a lot with his book learning, but he's one of the best shots with a 45 I've ever seen in my life.
That's right.
This guy.
Brendan does the lethal weapon neck crack before he takes the shot.
That's what I do. That's what I do.
The unexpected, yeah.
I also test the wind.
Yeah.
But thank you for your consideration. Yes, as my not by the book brother has pointed out, I'm not at my peak, but and it weirdly, as I was saying to them, I don't believe has anything to do with this film, which is surprising.
But we also
if the test results come back later, and
I was going to say, you don't believe, but the jury's still out on that. We have not actually
wait for the lab.
Yeah,
lab results.
The boys down in the squints down in the lab still haven't.
It's either it's like, oh, thank God, it's not, or we're sorry, Mr. Jones, you have been sorboned.
Oh no. Yeah, that's right, folks. We're still in 1997. But this time,
when one guy was a big deal at one point.
Oh man,
somebody mattered.
This was it, man. This was the height of him, right? Because this was where they're going, can we take syndicated TV guy and make him movie star? And
one way you can do it, or at least attempt to do it, is by making a movie that feels like it's a syndicated TV show.
Yeah.
I'm
a pilot. Yeah.
That's the thing about this is you go like, kind of a lot of bad decisions for Sorbo over the years. But at this time, the idea of like, if you want to expand beyond being Hercules guy, maybe don't make a movie that's just exactly like the show you're on. It was like,
right.
It's so, it's crazy.
And then he looked at him and goes, but I use an axe in this one.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay. Good Kevin.
Yeah.
Good Kevin.
I did this one. I have.
He didn't learn the lesson of a Tom Selleck.
Yeah.
Which was, if you want to become a movie star, don't do a movie that's a pale imitation of the one you lost out on.
Oh, yeah. High Road to China.
High Road to China.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that birthday. I always bring that up.
If he had started with Quigley Down Under, I think that would have been better for
him. In my life, I've made
or one of the comedies. If he had done 3 Million Baby, nobody would have.
If he had pulled out a Mr. Baseball. Yeah.
Birthday movie bad choices, which I will now say. One was High Road to China.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me and a bunch of friends. And it wasn't a terrible movie. We were like, okay, let's go to the arcade. That was like immediately after.
Yeah.
And then years later, David Cronenberg's Crash.
Which is objectively a good movie, but...
a really great movie.
Right, but it's not a birthday movie with your friends.
No.
And I remember after like going, okay, let's just go to the arcade. Weirdly the same exact.
Yeah, that's on a par with me thinking that great high school dates would be, first time high school dates would be, one, taking a two or 3 years younger lady to see Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Uh-oh. That was naughty.
Which you don't see the intensity of Jennifer Jason Leigh's character and what she goes through coming from the trailers.
A sexual movie, but not a sexy movie necessarily.
No, it's got consequences.
No, it's an organic mix of zany and after school special.
I thought you were about to say that I shouldn't have taken her to the marathon of Thin Man films.
Oh no, man! Come on, that's stealing the deal, though. That kind of banter.
But for a high schooler in the 80s,
in the early
80s, not what they were looking at.
I will say
the second one was taking a young woman my age, but still one I barely knew, to see The Hunger opening night.
Something we've covered before.
She looked over at me at one point and was like, why are we... What is this?
She didn't enjoy gauzy lesbian sex scenes?
No, she was a future young Republican. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Brings us back to Sorbo.
It does. I'll just quickly chime in with my bad birthday movie was similar to High Road to China, not Lost in Space. The Lost in Space movie I did. Took a whole bunch of people going, oh yeah! LeBlanc's action hero debut.
Yeah.
No,
I've always wanted to see a fine British actor turned into some sort of alien spider thing.
I mean, no surprise. He fucking goes for it in that movie. Of course.
He does.
But yeah, it's a bad movie.
I've got to say the warning sign, the red flag was Jonathan Harris refused to do it. He was offered a small role, I think he was going to be
a cameo.
Yeah, because several of the cast members have little parts in it.
And he said in a review, I used to do this in my very short-lived comedy act, but he said in an interview that he said, well, they called it a cameo, but I call it a fucking bit. And this actor, and he said, and I don't do bits, not this chickie baby.
That's
chickie baby.
Well, I'm
quoting the interview word for word.
I can imagine him being like, "Why not? Why wouldn't you just cast me as Dr. Smith again? I'm ready to go. Let's do it."
Doing a bit.
Ooh, never.
Oh, the pain.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The pain.
Speaking of which, back to migraines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kull the Conqueror. We're talking about not Conan the Barbarian. But Kull the Conqueror, the other intro. Robert E. Howard.
I'll do some quick.
Yeah, because I've always been baffled about this character because it's always just been he's not Conan is basically all I know about him.
They're pretty much the same character. Kull came first though. Robert E. Howard created Kull first, and this is in the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And really. There aren't a huge amount of either Kull or Conan stories, but Conan was more popular.
Yeah.
So each guy got, I think Kull, he probably wrote about 14, and these are novellas. They're longish, but like Kull stories, and there were some poems and things. But the idea is basically Conan was the, let me fix that. Because people liked Kull, but Kull is slightly different as in, he's not a womanizer, never was. The fact that this movie is trying to, and we'll talk about it, it was supposed to be a Conan movie anyway, but
yes,
the fact that they're doing the, they throw in the ladies, that's not a Kull thing. Also, Kull was a much more introspective and a philosophical character, a little heady.
Yes.
And then, so basically, he took one of his early Kull stories and turned it into a Conan story when he came up with Conan, basically. And indeed, there are chunks and paragraphs that are just word for word. All he did was but basically Conan was supposed to be him going, all right, you guys want action and you want him to bed down the ladies? Gotcha. And it's also, they're separated by thousands of years, but Conan is a descendant of Kull.
Right, I did
and
know he merged their continuities or whatever eventually.
yes, yeah, and Kull is from Atlantis. In fact, Kull of Atlantis is what he was pretty much known for before being called Kull the Conqueror a lot,
Right.
or King Kull. But so yeah, so Kull is from
Wait,
Atlantis.
what happened to? Is that how we got Nat King Cole?
That is exactly how we got Nat King Kull.
Okay.
Kevin Sorbo's post-credit doing Nature Boy should have
Yeah,
should have been the real like.
that
There
probably.
was a boy.
I think that's what ended the movie career for him.
Very
though.
woke, enchanted boy.
He got pepper sprayed in the face.
But you know what I love is Brandon on that point when I googled Kull the Conqueror and literally Google suggests questions that people ask. And one of them
Why
is
Call the Conqueror?
what is the difference between Kull the Conqueror and Conan the Barbarian? And the
there you go.
answer
And it
was
really
what you
is.
just said. It was just one is a little bit more philosophical and heady.
Yeah,
But other than that,
one
they're
is
basically, sword
they're
wielding
both
dudes with
barbarian guys.
codes of
Right.
honor and
Yeah, who become kings at certain points, and they have long careers. Kull is centuries before his descendant, but their worlds are, still kind of the same. They're both barbarian guys. Kull, did wield an axe, and this particular movie is based on, or has elements of one of the classic stories, which is "By this axe I will rule," which is what he said in the movie.
Yeah.
And two are Robert E. Howard fans in the audience went,
Yeah.
and then we're heard no more.
Well, those were the two
Right.
people. Those were the two people in
Brendan,
the audience.
it was that time when pulp writers would give their stories, and this carried on for decades. They would give their stories some sort of lofty, poetic title
Yeah.
in order to justify why they were writing this shit in the first
But
place.
also,
You see that like in Star Trek, classic Star Trek episodes.
Wow, those are
Twilight Zone episodes.
Yeah.
I shot an arrow into the air.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
For the earth is hollow and I have touched the sky is my favorite.
yeah, exactly,
Star Trek
exactly. Yeah,
title.
it just
I
these-
have no mouth and I must scream. No,
Yeah.
sorry,
I
that's
must
something
scream.
else.
Yeah. Harlan Ellison.
But I will say that's true. Only in the case of Robert E. Howard, this is where all that what we think of as sword and sorcery kind of stuff is coming from. So
Right.
it's built on fantasy literature, but then they wanted more testosterone.
Right.
And so the pulps like Weird Tales and stuff like that, amazing stories. Well, that was more sci-fi, but they were like going, "This is awesome." So yes, they were trying to elevate what they knew were essentially junk literature. The ones who were really great, the ones who we remember, even if they committed suicide way too young. Sorry, Mr. Howard.
Yeah.
They did. Their work is the step above, but it's so drenched in all the tropes. So a lot of his titles aren't really aren't that poetic, but they're also exactly what you'd expect. It's stuff like the phoenix and the sword, and the lizard god of Gaga Buddha, whatever it is, or the bejeweled elephant, and you're okay. But it is stuff that you're going like, it teases you in with sort of tropey stuff, and he's a good enough writer to where there's some very interesting stuff inside of it.
I think one of the reasons.
So I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
I was just gonna say, I think one of the things that obviously made Conan the more popular one is the dichotomy there in the character is more interesting. The idea that he is a savage who has a heroic streak, as opposed to Kull, who's already a little bit. I mean, he's already he also is a barbarian, but he's already philosophical.
I think there are great twists in all of his famous characters, and he was able to kind of use different parts of what he wanted to do with Solomon Kane and
Solomon Kane. We'll get to. Love that
Conan.
guy.
Yeah, so each one of them, and I think Conan, he really did appreciate. It was bringing him in some money. It was more successful than Kull, obviously. and more successful than Solomon Kane. But it was him basically leaning into what does the audience want, and he's like, okay, you want more blood and you want boobs, got it.
But he still found a way to write that in a not just junk manner.
No. That stuff is so much fun to read, and plus, that's how even someone like beloved racist H.P. Lovecraft, an amazing writer,
our favorite racist.
Our favorite racist
of all the racists.
Yeah,
he's the best.
He's one off, but two very high-minded dudes, one a hermit in New England and one out in ranches in Texas, and their correspondence is just them world building back and forth and talking about literary influences, and you're going like, I love that. It is so pre-internet how two nerds found each other.
Right.
But anyway,
so I didn't realize, Brendan, you've actually read a lot of Howard's books. Is that right?
I'm actually not as huge a fan, but I have read Conan stuff. I've probably read like maybe a Kull story. I've read all the Solomon Kane, which is easy to do. It's like pretty much a volume.
Also, it is the best. I just love that character. I mean, in terms of, it makes sense that you've read, because Solomon Kane rules.
Yeah, no, I just love the concept, the setting, and
we'll get, of course, we'll get to his movie in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and again, what a missed opportunity. I would love to see more Solomon Kane. And I love Conan, but the sword and sorcery thing in general isn't too much of my bag. And if a movie is good, like we all, I think, really love Conan, the first.
Great movie.
When it's done right, you sit there going like, dude, I love this stuff, man, more. And when it's a PG-13 made-for-TV looking piece of crap like this, there's nothing to hang on to.
The point, as we said, the point about this is this isn't actually a Kull the Conqueror movie. It is just a Conan movie that they've called Kull the Conqueror, because literally this was the script for what was supposed to be Conan the Conqueror. And did you guys see this in the trivia that they offered, that when they offered this to Sorbo, they offered it as Conan the Conqueror, and he goes, I don't want to play somebody else's part. They go, wait, and they just go, Kull the Conqueror, and they were like, oh yeah, I'll do that. Same script.
Yeah, I think his point was not necessarily I don't want to play somebody else's, but I don't want to play something that's so established as
with Arnold. Yeah.
And meanwhile, Steve Reeves is in the background going like, I was Hercules.
I mean,
sorry, I think you've already done it.
Right.
As I said at the end of the last episode, I saw this movie in the theater. Because
I had no interest even in the
I was a child, as always stated. I loved Hercules: The Legendary Journeys. I watched it every week, both Hercules and Xena. I was the perfect age for those shows. I remember when they came out on DVD and I was older, I was like, oh, and then I was like, oh, this is not, these are not good. You know, like, but like, but as a kid, I was swept up in it, man. These were great shows. So I was like, they're going to put Hercules in a movie? This is going to rule. And they've, I mean, of course, the whole marketing was like, and it's kind of like Conan, which I loved the Schwarzenegger movies. So I was jazzed to see it. And here's the thing, I was a kid, so there is no bad movie, of course. But the fact that I didn't own it or I've never watched it again since indicates that by kid logic, I knew this one wasn't good, clearly.
Right. John, I'm going to challenge I was a kid, there is no bad movie, because as a kid, I guess you had to live through the 70s, but when you would go see something like, say,
Grizzly.
Oh, I don't know, Grizzly or The Adventures of the Wilderness Family, and you would just sit there and just go,
maybe not.
Or a Disney movie that was live action that wasn't like Candle Shoe or something. Candle Shoe was pretty good, but that you go Hot Lead and Cold Feet, and you just go sit and watch this nonsense and just go, who is this being made for?
Yeah,
let's say there's like bad episodes of Gilligan's Island writ large on the screen,
but definitely
maybe a little bit of gore or something. But
as a kid, generally, if they took me to a movie theater, I was having a good time. But like I said, the fact that I didn't, because like we also talked about The Phantom recently, and that was a movie I then owned and watched a bunch. Kull the Conqueror,
I probably enjoy. I have no memory of seeing it, other than I remember that was when I was being forced to play soccer as a kid, because of course you did. It was the '90s. They just made
At
kids play
gunpoint.
at gunpoint. But but it's so weird that's burned in my memory of
European rules.
as I was
European
playing the
rules.
soccer game on a Saturday and just going, I have to get through this, and then my dad will take me to Kull the Conqueror. And that's
Oh,
the
there you
thing.
go.
Yeah, I just
Well,
got to I got to survive the soccer game so I can see a Kevin Sorbo movie.
Well,
Anyway,
I gotta say, all the mistakes are immediately apparent the second the thing starts, and you've got Sorbo providing his own intro. So there's no Mako. There's no one sitting there like doing, I'm speaking on behalf of this guy.
I had the same thought.
Good rolling voice. No, it's just him.
His dull. God, he's dull too, isn't he?
He's very dull.
He's just
He
so.
is TV charming. That's the thing, is that you see why he worked in a particular medium, is that he's not flat, but there's a cap to his charm.
He's
that doesn't go any.
Yeah, he's in that circle. There's a lot of those guys, right, that are just like that had successful TV careers, but just never made that jump because
you watch Ed Kooky Burns in the spaghetti western, and you realize a man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah, no one in those spaghetti westerns were asking him for his comb.
Yeah,
nope.
But man, that's for the oldies. That's
oldies.
We're sweating to the oldies right now. But I will say, the thing here is that you have the awful After Effects fire kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you get the logo. And when the logo comes up, when his name comes up and the score kicks in, it's with an electric guitar.
The score is so weird in this movie. The score is such a weird choice because there are times that it swells to as much as it can be epic fantasy, and then other times where it's like which
well, and it's something that Taika Waititi kind of mocks in his Thor movies. Is he'll do actual needle drops, which works better.
Yeah.
And in this, at one point, I was watching it the last half of it with my wife, and she's like, "What's going on?" And I go, "He's about to kick ass."
Yeah, well, because that's the thing. The Thor movies are a good example of this. We've mentioned A Knight's Tale on here before. There are movies that make that work. The medieval action mixed with like heavy metal or classic rock music can work. But here, it's just so it doesn't feel like anyone's designing this to be a vibe.
And tone is a huge problem here because it's written almost. I mean, again, they did tweak that existing Conan script, but most of it is pretty straight ahead, non-exciting, sword and sorcery stuff done seriously. But then there are these tonal things where they're trying to work in little bits and
Hercules kinds of jokes.
Yeah. It's like I have to have at least a couple of things that are going to make people laugh, and you're going, yeah, that's what Cole was known for. He was a quipster.
Well, and once again, when in the hands of a Sorbo whose comedic timing is
mistake I was going to get to the immediate and apparent thing is he just doesn't work on the screen.
No, because he's getting blown off the screen by Thomas Ian Griffith, who's very fun,
and Tia
Carrera's
Harvey Firestein.
I even think Tia Carrera showed up to play.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I'll say. Everyone showed up to play, but only to the heights of their talents. And this is not a movie where. And I love Harvey Firestein.
What is he doing
can
here,
be
though?
Hilarious. But I will sit here and say, this is a movie, unlike a lot of the bad ones we watch, where we can at least say, "Oh, well, it was awful," but every time blah 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 came on screen, it was like I got reinvested. No one did that for me here. No one saved the moment. There wasn't. I couldn't look to a great character actor. I was like, oh, so it is a lot of TV people. Again, I'm not saying that as an insult, but you're right. The most intense person in this film is a former, dojo owner and, Cobra Kai.
Well, because Thomas Ian Griffith it isn't. We talked about Meet the Monsters in John Carpenter's Vampires. We've spoken many a time about him over on when I was doing my B action movie podcast. He's got a thing at least. There's like a compelling,
he brings an intensity.
Yeah, and he is. I mean, he is doing as much as he can with this very thinly scripted character, and also it doesn't help that he's bigger than Sorbo and clearly having to hold back the fact that he's a martial arts master and would beat the living shit out of this guy in a real fight.
The eunuch is better drawn than most of the characters in this movie.
The Edward Penpole character, who my wife kept asking, is that Peter Capaldi? I was like, no, he's like a Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, he's Peter Capaldi.
He resembles him to a degree, but he that guy. I don't know if you guys ever saw Absolute Beginners, but Edward Tenpole was at the time part of a punk band called Tenpole Tudor, and it was based on the fact that he's actually the descendant of royalty in real life. Yeah. But he played in that movie a Cockney Ted, and his band does this song "Ted Ain't Dead," and then he decided he just wanted to be an actor after that, and his real voice kicks in, which you hear here, this sort of upper class.
And he's once again, there are moments where when he came on screen, I did think, oh, this guy's going to be fun, and then the movie kind of doesn't let him be. It's not his fault.
No,
it's just like he just kind of goes to the side and he's just kind of around.
It just feels like they were trying to do a combination of Conan and Hercules.
Yep.
And they couldn't quite stick the landing on mixing those two or either one.
Yeah.
And so this is called The Conqueror.
I do think they were real. To Universal's credit, they were realistic about this is a $30 million movie, which is still too much for a Kevin Sorbo movie. But they didn't. They didn't bet the house on this one.
No, that's not them going all in.
Especially because
it's a dealer-rentist bargain basement film.
Yeah, absolutely. And it ended up grossing on a $30 million budget, 6.1. Now,
Sorbo at that, actually probably today, Sorbo could kick my ass because I am not anyone's threat. But
he's at a convention somewhere right now kicking someone's ass.
But in this movie, he's very fit.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying people need, if you're going to play a barbarian, to be Momoa or The Rock or Schwarzenegger. But this isn't like he's a fit guy, but he doesn't look that imposing, to tell you the truth.
That's what I'm saying. When he's up against Thomas Ian Griffith, you're like, that guy's bigger than him.
Yeah, and one thing that cracked me up is Kull the Conqueror is mocked at the beginning for using an axe because that's a barbarian's weapon. Oh, and then later in the movie, I got my axe back and I'm so badass and I will rule by this axe. And I'm like, yeah, yay. But the thing is, I love there's a bit where the boat blows up, he's in the water, whatever the thing.
Right,
yeah.
But you see him literally like holding his axe above the water line, and I'm like going, you wouldn't be. No,
he's a fit dude.
No, I'm sorry. You would have let go of that thing because it was going to be
dragging.
My axe. But he doesn't. That's why Hercules was better for him, because that was lighter in tone. You didn't take it as seriously.
And I think that was because he's the right build for that. Because one thing, Hercules has
powers,
God's strength given to him, so he doesn't really have to be a rippling huge dude. He's just super strong.
Plus the Hercules shows and Xena, they were the product of a single vision from Sam Raimi and Robert Tappert. And I think to again, this movie trying to be that, it needed a Sam Raimi to really knock it out of the park. And
those shows, and even the ones that didn't do as well, like Jack of All Trades and Cleopatra, whatever
2025.
Jack of All Trades, of course, was my favorite.
Produced,
terrific.
But as you say, they were the product of a vision, and the vision was fun pulp. Exactly. It's cheap. and we have all the amazing scenery you could want in New Zealand.
Yep.
So we can do any time period, blah blah blah. It was actually really smart, syndicated, non like thinking shows. Those are perfect hangover shows and whatever, and they're all pretty fun. And that's the thing, you can't take them seriously because they're not meant to be taken seriously.
Right, and Sam Raimi is a genius with doing a lot with very little, so it works really well for TV.
And that's the thing is, like, yes, Sorbo is very bad in this, of course, but another big problem here is they hired a TV director. John Nicolella had only done, I believe, pretty much TV up to this point. He was a Miami Vice director.
I think he'd done like 4 or 5 things.
He did what was that thing with Peter Boyle from the 70s? Is it Citizen Joe? Is that it?
No, he didn't do Joe. That was John Al.
No, not Joe.
No, he didn't direct anything that he may have produced something.
Oh, okay.
Or worked on Crew.
Yeah, because his first directing, his debut directing credits was on Miami Vice.
Stop yelling at me. Like,
he was a Michael Mann TV guy. He did Miami Vice. He did Crime Story. He did the Mike Hammer, Stacy Keach TV movies. Not the show, the TV movies.
Oh, it was Crazy Joe, and he was assistant director. Sorry.
No, that's all right.
I knew I had that in my head.
But like this is a guy who directed the Rock Hudson TV biopic. He did
Your Beloved Mantis.
He did Mantis. He worked on Mantis. He worked on and this is very much makes sense for this as well. He directed 3 episodes of the syndicated Untouchables TV show. Remember that?
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean,
was that with the guy playing Elliot Ness who did a weak Jimmy Stewart impression?
Yeah. And this was the last thing he directed.
After he finished it, he died.
It's true. It's sad, but
it was cancer. I did look that up because I was like, the dude was only 52, and that's a shame.
Because
this isn't good though. So,
Brennan, how old are you? I'm
55.
You've outlived John Nicolella.
I have, and that was my goal. So now I can die. Thank you.
Just setting the bar.
He's not doing an atrocious job, but he's doing a TV job. This is a guy who's going to come in on time and on budget. You know, he's not.
And that's what Universal clearly was looking for. I think Universal was the studio for all of those Hercules things.
Yeah,
right.
Originally, I think it was part of a package. You could get a Hercules, and then the next week would be a Smokey and the Bandit ripoff. Series that was done by Hal Needham.
Do you remember
I forget what the third thing was.
I was reminded of those Hal Needham Bandit TV movies. What the hell were they doing?
I recall that they existed. I don't think I ever watched them.
Yeah.
No, I remember seeing Hal Needham in Los Angeles not long after that, and all of those Broken Bones had. What?
Did you give him some change, whatever you had on you?
No, he gave it to the Brentano's calendar store that I was managing, and
that's right.
He was with his lady, and she was basically kind of leading him around a little bit. He was in a full denim jumpsuit.
That adds up,
and with chains and stuff. Yeah, but he was moving very slowly, about on the scale of a Tony Francioso that I saw at the New Art once, who needed like 2 canes. It was really bad, but anyway, it was just
Michael and who was the other Caine?
Yeah, Michael Caine, and then Citizen. Yeah. Citizen was the other.
Okay, good.
I love Citizen Caine. He's great.
He went by Citizen at that point. He's more punk rock.
He knew what the people wanted.
But anyway. Actually, this movie could have used a Hal Needham. It could have used, honestly, anybody who could have brought some more energy to it. Yeah.
The action's garbage. The effects are garbage.
Yeah.
The only good thing about it is I do think that there was a lot of attention paid by art directors and concept art is to say, just what kind of wigs did people wear in the pre-cataclysm of Atlantis?
Yeah.
And
the Atlantean wigs is what
the wig
the
budget
Atlantean
on
wig.
the wig budget on this movie must have been through the roof. That must have been most of the budget because I think every single character is wearing a wig.
My wife at one point during the Karina Lombard is now Tia Carrere sequence.
Classic.
Classic.
She just looks at Tia Carrere and goes, "Nice wig."
Yeah. Oh, the Tia Carrere wig is absolutely nuts. It's definitely the silliest of the wigs.
Yeah.
What I like about it, and I can't, address the similarities to specific stories, but what this boils down to in the end is essentially fire versus ice.
Yes.
And actually, Fire and Ice is a fine animated film based on Frank Frazetta drawings.
Yes, it is.
But this basically is just like an old god that's based in fire that almost destroyed the earth or whatever, gets imprisoned, and his priestess is a mummy. This one guy. What I love is the follower who brings her back. Basically, Temple. Yes, right. And he's got the burned face, and they're like, "Oh, you can't get enough of that fire," and he's like, "Oh, I love it." And you're like, "Okay, so he could have brought her back anytime." It's almost like he was waiting for someone to give him permission. He's like, "Oh, great, let's do this thing." But anyway, so who he brings back is the priestess of the fire god, basically, and that's why Tia Carrere has a terrible red wig. But then there's another ancient god, Valka, I think is the good one.
Wait, are you talking about the breath of Valka? Because you got to be careful with that, Brendan.
You do need to be careful with it, and not everyone can face it down. You probably get frozen.
Or at least you need some breath spray for the breath of Volta.
You really do.
No good.
But you got to make sure. You got to make sure you have the model in your movie take her top off before she gets the.
Yeah.
But from the back, because we're PG-13. This is for kids, folks.
Right, I know.
Oh, that was another huge mistake. If you're doing any kind of sword and sorcery, anything
it needs to be R.
Unless it's something like Crawl.
Well, you can, but I felt I did feel the rating on this, not just
you totally feel the rating, and it's not just because of the chaste love scenes.
I want to see a sword go through a guy.
I want to see some blood, just a little bit, a little bit would be good.
They're taking a dude's head off.
When you have a guy whose whole thing is by this axe I rule. I want that. He's got to be putting that axe into people, and it's all just so gentle. You never feel any of the violence.
No, you never do.
No, it's that I did have that thought as well. Even honestly, we talked about even Conan the Destroyer that toned things down still had a little bit of blood. This has nothing.
A little bit.
This has absolutely nothing.
And
they were working off the Hercules template.
Yep. Well, and that was why 8-year-old me or whatever went to this, right? Like it's a
and you weren't satisfied.
I don't think I was. Although I did the other thing, I did have the action figures from this movie.
I didn't know they had any.
Yeah. I'm gonna put it in the chat.
Give
me a second. Because you've got to we were talking about the wigs. You've got to see the hair on these action figures.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
But like
kind of Barbie level?
Yes.
Bad Barbie?
Brings in the what we all know, which is olden times is where the mullet was strong. It was very strong.
What I like is Sorbo has long hair on the Hercules show, and then they go, if we're taking him in the movies, that hair's getting longer. All right, we're giving him an even.
He needs extensions.
We're giving him an even crazier cut. Oh God. Okay, I'm putting it in the.
That means barbarian.
And Tia Carrere is no great actress, but
she's kind of fun in this, though. She's trying.
she's fun as like someone in high school, and they're like, "We're doing Wizard of Oz. You get to play the Wicked Witch," and she's like, "Yay!"
That's dead on
she
what she's
cackle.
doing. Yeah.
I thought that.
Oh, that cackle!
I put it in the
I
put it in the chat, fellas. The action figure I had. It's sillier than I remember.
Because
also, of course, they didn't even bother on these figures to match likeness. Obviously.
What the hell is that? Is that supposed to be Kull?
That's Kull. That's Kull in his royal battle armor. Was the one I had.
That is garbage.
Yeah, and I remember that as a kid being like, "Oh, yeah."
Is it too late for your parents to get their money back?
I do remember I had my Kevin Sorbo Hercules action figure.
I'll have to look at it later. My app doesn't seem to accommodate me.
It's very dumb.
Yeah, it's not good. It's
not
good. And I like the way they decided to do this is what we do for girl dolls, which is the nylon hair.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking, is it like bad Barbie level?
It's bad, yeah.
Anytime you had a long hair.
It feels like they pulled from the bucket of nylon Barbie hair and just went, there you go. There's a little bit of Kull.
And they're doing a combo of like...
That's Wonder Woman.
Yep.
Here's your red Sonya.
What I love...
By the way, I was looking at a house ad from the 70s that had all the Mego figures lined up like, we provide the best heroes. And Robin, I was very embarrassed to look across and go, we had almost all of those. And guess which ones we never had? Any of the
Green Arrow?
No, we had Green Arrow.
Didn't have any of the ladies, is what you were saying.
Didn't have a single one. Yeah, I'm sitting there going like, I feel embarrassed. It was like Catwoman, no. Wonder Woman, no. Invisible Woman, no.
Nah. Well, there was a little.
We didn't have any of the Fantastic Four for some reason. We never did.
That's actually that is.
I think it was because it just angered little kid Robin that they couldn't do it. Like Mr. Fantastic didn't stretch.
Yeah,
and Human Torch didn't turn back human.
The thing I love, because of course
Invisible Girl didn't have like at least an invisible hand or something.
Because now we're talking about action figures. Super 7, who's an action figure company I like a lot. They are doing a new line of Robert E. Howard figures, and they have a Kull and a Conan coming out. And I'm looking at them right now, and they're basically the same mold, but slightly different armor. And Conan just got a little bit more paint to accentuate the muscles.
Oh.
He's got a little bit more detail in the muscles. But it's very funny that, yes, like, even in action figure form, I'm like, well, they're basically the same guy.
Yeah,
no, sure.
These are
well, you look at Miko and all of a sudden Superman and Batman without his mask on, which I was stunned Miko did.
Yeah, the removable mask.
Same mold, same look entirely.
Oh yeah, there they are.
They look good. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna get that Conan. That Conan looks awesome.
Hey,
yeah,
guys, it's at this point that I must announce a very quick werewolf break.
Oh. You take care.
We'll be back with more Kull the Conqueror after this.
All right.
All right. So let's dive into the movie itself. We've talked around them. There's not much to say about it's. By the way, Brandon, you were talking about, and I did look this up. You weren't sure what stories they were pulling from. This is primarily taken from a Conan story. The plot of this, which was the Hour of the Dragon, was the story that they're mainly adapting. Sure. Then they threw in some elements of By This Axe I Rule, and the Phoenix on the Sword is the other one.
Phoenix on the Sword, right.
But the basic plot of this is Hour of the Dragon. They just moved it from Aquilonia to Valusia, and boom, we're good. We're good to go. I mean, they basically did a search and replace on this script, from what I gather.
Again, Conan the Barbarian did the same thing because they pulled Thulsa Doom from Kull. Thulsa Doom is not a Conan villain.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like they just decided, like everyone else did, it doesn't matter.
Well, because I will say that, but I'll also say if this script
Conan, doesn't matter.
If this script is basically what the Conan the Conqueror script was, I understand why Arnold didn't want to do it.
Sure.
Because it's not great.
I do wonder, though. I wonder how close it was, or how far off it was from this, because I think this still got tinkered with. Obviously,
it did. I mean, at least who's credited with it? Charles Edward Pogue is the
A
writer.
Fly.
Who wrote the? That's what I mean. It seems like other people must have tinkered with it because this guy is. I mean, I'm not going to say he's like an incredible writer, but yes, he wrote the Cronenberg Fly. He wrote the DOA remake. He wrote Psycho 3.
So good.
Dragonheart was big before this that he wrote the Sean Connery Dragon. So I'm saying like this feels like a bigger name writer for a kind of a low rent thing. But my guess is he wrote Conan the Conqueror, probably coming off of The Fly. And then,
so it's sort of a legacy thing that they picked up and tweaked, and then you get this nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, you know what Dino De Laurentiis told me? He say, you watch Hercules, nobody cry.
Yeah.
No.
You watch Kull.
You watching my Kull.
Everybody cry. When Kull get magically poisoned while having the sex, you cry.
You cry. No.
Well, I will say, this movie,
Right?
this movie has no interest in Kull being a character at all, because the way it just starts is, you get Kevin Sorbo's in the time of the thing and the whatever, there is a fire, but then you just jump into, and this is actually the thing that I remembered most from seeing this as a kid was guys fighting with flaming swords. That was the image that stuck with me, and for me to go like, oh, that's like the first 5 minutes, but just the way this movie drops in, there is no attempt to build up Kull in the way that they did, of course, in Conan, where you literally start.
No, he fights the guy who's, I guess, a prince, like, because he's one of the princes and the badass one.
You're talking about Talagaro.
Sure. But he's also, I think he's a general. But at the same
General
time,
Talagaro,
he seems to be in line for the throne.
Yeah.
But basically, some slave guy, and by the way, that's not Kull's origin. That's Conan's.
Right.
Once again, they are really mixing these characters.
He was a pirate for a bit. I mean, just like Conan. But anyway, so, and the stuff where they call him the tiger and all that, was like, yeah, that is actually from Kull. But anyway, so they fight, and you get no backstory. And this guy's really badass. And the general goes, hey, you're pretty badass. You want to join my group? And he's like, yeah. And he goes, well, first you got to use the flaming sword, whatever. But what I love is it's in 10 minutes that he meets a prince, joins his group, and happens to literally, when they get back to town, show up just as the king is chopping people.
Going nuts.
And then he just basically is next to him and stops him. First he says, don't kill anybody else today. And the king's like, you're right, I won't. Oh, I got it. And Kull stabs him. And then the king, with his dying breath, gives the crown, not to either of his sons, but to this outsider guy.
But that further adds to the... Oh, you go ahead.
No, I was just saying, anytime that actor is given a chance to talk in any of the movies...
Sven-Ole Thorsen?
That we've seen. Yeah, I'm just like, why did you give him lines?
Sven-Ole Thorsen, that's an Arnold guy.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, good. You're familiar with Sven's work.
Well, he's hard to miss.
Yeah.
And
presence be known.
And he seems to understand English. But anyway,
but he is often a guy who is. He has a lot of roles as henchman number 2 in big action movies.
But here he's the king.
Yeah.
Who's lost his mind.
Mad king.
That's right. We saw.
But what I love is that
weird use
Kull
of him.
becomes king within like 5 minutes.
And
then he on the tour of, well, okay, this is your palace. He then becomes Abraham Lincoln. Because he walks around going like, oh, these people are slaves? You don't have to be a slave anymore. This is bullshit. And they're like, what? He's like, no, you're not a slave. And it's like, here's your harem. And first he's like, yeah. And then he goes, wait, they don't want to be with me? Oh, set them free.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to. And it's like, oh, wow, Kull. Wow.
Because
you're changing everything so fast.
Once again, this is where it feels like
when he regains the throne at the end, he does the same thing. He's just like going, no slaves.
But the thing I'm talking, this is where I was going to say the thing about this is, it does feel like this was the recycled third Conan movie. Not even that it's because the slave thing obviously is very Conan, but just in general, the way this movie starts is as if we're like, oh yeah, Kull, we know him. There is no sense of building up this guy. They do act. This feels like a sequel, and of course, all the stuff about freeing the slaves would be more impactful if it was Conan.
With the Prince guy going, what is your name? I'm Kull, and where are you from? And he goes, Atlantis, which of course to them isn't going to throw off any weird thing.
But
because
does
Atlantis
for anyone watching the movie?
Yet.
But anyone watching the movie, I'm sure that people were like, Atlantis, what?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Why don't you have gills?
What's this guy, Aquaman? He talks to fish, but no, that's the but like you're saying, the thing about freeing the slaves is like the way it's portrayed in this movie is like, well, this guy's just so good. Whereas once again, if this was the third Conan movie, that would be much more impactful. It's like, I was raised a slave. I know what this is. This is unacceptable. Instead,
this is just a muscle dude,
just
who's
a good dude,
basically taking on all comers in a big mud pit. And you're like, okay, great.
Yeah, there's no the context that Sorbo monotones.
We don't know what he wants.
Doesn't mean anything.
No,
it's just in the land of the blue at the time of the bing bing bing.
Yeah,
it's like,
comes
why
the
would he be
and then the war of the boo.
Why would he be a freedom fighter? Where did he get his skills? Why has he come to this kingdom? Right. They have not bothered with any of that stuff.
He is just
there.
He's just good guy. He's just good. His inherent character quality is that he's good.
And you can tell because when he talks about the time and the land and everything, he sounds so excited and engaged with the...
Yeah.
Also,
he's a good guy because he walks into a room full of beautiful women.
Right.
And zeroes in on the one who has the least acting ability. That, I thought, that's the sign of a true king.
I'll tell you this much.
Woman.
She's a better actress than this. She's great in Wide Sargasso Sea. She is very good in the L Word. She's quite good when the material engages her.
Okay, well here she is. She is not as good as Tia Carrera. That's pretty amazing.
I think Karina Lombard wanted to do the movie.
Okay. Well, because I think she's coming. She had done Legends of the Fall before this. She's good in that.
Yeah.
You know, she can act, but two things: she's probably not engaged, correct? And two, what kind of part is
single.
this?
Nice.
Actually, Brendan, she is single.
Hello.
So hello,
Karina.
Hello.
Give me a call.
Yeah. And actually, you two are the same age, so.
Oh, appropriate.
Yeah. There you go. So it
finally
this works out.
Finally, Brendan.
Well, that's all the podcasts we do. We talk about genre movies and we look for a wife for Brendan. That's basically what the shows have become. Because I still think we can get you with Jane Seymour. I still think that's the
I think that's done deal.
Don't say that even as a joke. The most beautiful woman.
Even in her 70s,
she's still a stunning woman.
Still kicking ass.
It is
Harry Wild on.
That's right.
I haven't watched that yet.
It's good.
She's really good.
She's very charming. I mean, it's one of those shows where it's definitely like built around her charm, which is great.
Yeah.
What a foundation.
Yeah.
What a foundation.
No, that's fine by me.
She's tired of being Mrs. James Keach, Brennan, so you should give her a call.
I will.
But that's another thing too. Is just like, God, the attempts to give them banter. Sorbo and Lombard trying to do this rat-a-tat. It is painful to sit through.
Yeah.
Whether
I'm only here because you
for 10 Commandments. Whether anybody.
Yeah.
The original Prince Valiant. Anyone could have written dialogue and made it flow better than.
Well, they have no chemistry at all whatsoever.
Well, he doesn't have chemistry with anyone in this movie except weirdly with Harvey Fierstein.
Harvey Fierstein,
he loved him.
Yeah.
You're so gorgeous. Look at you, how fit you are.
I know. I once again, I like the idea of putting Harvey Firestein in this movie.
Yeah.
But you wish the
And
movie...
this is actually one of his thinner points. I was like, oh, you're not as big
Well,
as
when
I've
they
seen you in
gave
a lot
me
of things.
Kull, I hit the gym. I said I've got to really get in shape for Kull.
I think there's an improv moment in one.
I wouldn't be
in
surprised.
one scene.
Yeah.
Because he's about to get knocked out, whatever, and he's like, "So wonderful to see you, Cole." Oh, saying that really hurt my head. I'm not doing the impression.
I'm sorry.
But basically he goes, "I'll never forget that night when you and I," and that's when he passes out.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically refers to a night when you and I, and that's the last thing. And I'm like going, we know what you're
there you
doing.
go.
Kull and
Yeah,
I
we
have
got it
some.
with that.
Kull and I have
And
Well,
some.
we got
it's
really
true.
close.
It flew
Ow.
right over Sorbo's head. You know he never caught it.
Oh,
No.
because you...
Years
well,
later, he's like, "Wait, did that imply that?" Hey,
yeah, I was going to say,
Whoa.
because Sorbo, I believe, would not be cool with that, as
I
as
don't
we
think
might
he
know.
would be.
Whoa.
No, yeah, Mr. Sorbo there.
It's the woke libtards.
The
They're-
one thing,
they're-
yeah.
They're the one pushing the called Juba narrative.
But I was going to
Juba.
say the thing about
Juba.
is you
Yeah.
want...
The Jewish guy plays a character
Named
Juba.
conniving and
Conniving.
only in it for himself, and his name is Juba.
And you know Harvey caught that too.
Yeah.
You have to know he's like going, "Oh, you need me to." Okay.
Let me.
Okay, fine, Pussy.
Okay. Let me see the check
Okay.
again. Okay, yeah.
All
All
right.
right. Yeah,
Okay.
we'll do it.
Because Harvey's coming off of his fun little role in Independence Day was the year before this.
Oh, that
Or
was
Jesus
good stuff.
Christ.
He's very
This
fun
is
in
when
that.
he was playing weak, conniving dudes.
Oy.
Yep.
He's the guy calling his mom when the aliens
Yeah.
attack in that movie, of course.
Right.
Ma,
right,
get out
right.
the house.
It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know
Nah,
what problem you guys have with it because it's great.
I thought he's fun. I mean, I like the
I
Irwin
thought
Allen
like
casting.
the best thing
Independence.
about Independence Day was it gave David Duchovny a poster to pee on in the X-Files movie.
Oh,
So, but
for a poster to pee on.
But you just
Yeah.
want, like, if you're gonna cast Harvey Firestein or some of these, you're like, make the movie weirder. Then let it be a little bit, if not goofier, stranger. Once again, looking
zany.
for any identity. Look, you're like, oh, that's an interesting choice. We'll do something with it. Nah, he's pretty much in and out. Also, maybe the fastest betrayal I've ever seen an ally make in any movie ever.
It's
Well,
pretty great.
they set it up.
Here's
though.
my
They have-
buddy.
They have
Hey, come on,
Sorbo
have
like
some food.
making him test the food and stuff. And,
Yeah.
I mean,
But it's just like in one scene he's like, "Yes, I'll help you, Cole," and then later the next scene he's like, "I have betrayed you."
Yep.
You're like,
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, but you're
Amazing.
supposed to get the idea that he could drop a hammer on him at any point.
Yeah.
I don't have as much problem with that as I do. That I thinking, well, Harvey knows that he's just picking up a paycheck to pay some bills and stuff.
Yeah.
But he's bringing whatever he can to the part, and
I think, as you point out, Brendan, I agree. I don't think anybody's phoning it in. I do think this is as lively as Sorbo gets. Maybe Karina Lombard, actually.
Oh
as you brought
no,
up.
I think.
I think she disengaged. I don't think she.
I think there are people in it you can tell thought this was actually going to do something for them.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's definitely Mr. Sorbo.
Oh, this is the big movie star.
And
Yeah.
probably Tia Carrera because they are acting their butts off as much as they can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're like, okay, they're expecting great things, but
And the guy from Total Recall, he's fine. Everybody, with the exception of Karina Lombard, who to me is just not engaging that much with any of it. And
that's your take on it. And to me, she looks like I don't know. They've given her a nice sedative, and that it's about to kick in. It is just.
If
about
I'm going to
kick
be in
in.
a scene with Kevin Sorbo, I'm going to need to be medicated. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Actually, that's true. 2 women in this movie are forced to be intimate with that guy.
Yeah.
Slab Hard Cheese or whatever his name is.
Well, that's the thing about Kevin Sorbo, of course.
He is the well. That's the Red Brown thing that MST3K kept coming up with different
for
names
Space Mutiny.
Yeah,
Red Brown.
One of the best MST3K episodes by far. Space
Mutiny.
Space Mutiny.
Yeah,
you
but
have to watch.
Every time he shows up, they give him a different name like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Brendan, you made me forget my point. Let's move
Perfect.
on.
That's what I tried.
And I'm sure it was going to be so insightful because this movie, there's such depth here.
It bears so much analysis.
Over an hour, so I think we can wrap it up soon. Said the man.
Spoiler.
Well, I mean, it's just like at a certain point, once it is just the structure of the thing. It's 95 minutes, and the Harvey Fierstein betrayal thing I was brought up is just in general the vibe of the movie is Kull quickly becomes king. He's quickly betrayed, thought dead, then quickly reveals himself as not dead to go on the run, to go to the secret magic place so they can get the ice magic, as you point out, Brendan, to defeat Tia Carrera's fire magic.
To confront the fire magic.
Yeah.
Right.
And his the former harem girl who has stolen his heart turns out to be the sister of a priest of the ice god, who refuses to kill.
Right.
He's a monk.
Mm-hmm.
So they get the magic, and then they come back as Tia Carrera proves to even the people who are trying to help her, no, you don't get it. I'm evil. So you were stupid to think I was going to help you, and I'm going to burn the world down. And Kull's like, not so fast. We've got some ice magic, and the end. But right before he, obviously she has to change shape because it's not enough to have a lady in a red wig. So she becomes a demon figure going like, hey, husband.
Oh,
hey,
you know what? I was glad.
You want some more of this. I know you do.
Brendan, I was just so glad to see the effects team from the 90s Spawn movie get more work. That's the big thing. Because that fire demon looks exactly like the effects in that. I think the same. I think also 90s of it.
It also had some Charles Band, subspecies vibe going on.
It goes between because it goes from being the CG creature to one thing I do love this movie for, at the very least, is giving me the image of Kevin Sorbo having to kiss a rubber monster demon so he can breathe ice into its mouth.
Right.
That's pretty great.
That's the hottest thing I've ever seen.
That's pretty great to have that imagery exist in the world, is all I'm saying.
That is now my phone screensaver.
Yeah, so. I literally, if I'm sitting there going, no, the way the shot should go is like this, then there's a problem. Because you're just like, no. He goes in slow motion. There's a little bit of distance.
Look, the
breath goes from one to the other. That's how you do it.
Why near death? Cut him some slack.
All right.
I did think Kull lingered though. He kissed for a while. I'm just saying.
John,
saying he didn't protest too much.
No. Yeah, what he's really got to make sure he got it in there. That's all.
If you're trying to spread the unfound rumor that Kevin Sorbo likes making out with giant rubber lifelike,
all I know
masks,
is
then that's on you, buddy.
All I know
is any proof beyond this film and probably the way he talks online that he consorts with lifelike rubber.
All I know is his marriage fell apart shortly after filming this movie, and there were paparazzi photos of him and that rubber monster out to dinner. They said they were just friends,
There's a lot of explanations. We don't have to go down this sordid path. This Sorbo path.
That rubber demon was there for him during a hard time.
Providing
man,
soft, lifeless.
Oh man, oh boy, yeah.
The point is that Kull wins.
Kull does win, and yes, saves everybody. The slaves, what I like is there's not even an open. They're not necessarily setting up a sequel either. I think they had to know they've got nothing here.
I mean, so. he breaks the dude's staff and says, "I'm king, and I rule by the only rule I rule by is the axe or whatever." And at that point, the guy quivers, and you think, okay, he could be a revenge guy in the next one, if
Or it'll just be another thing of he's like, oh, my kingdom is being threatened by this ancient god. I'll go chop it off. Blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
We are giving it more thought than they did.
Guys, this will shock you. According to his Wikipedia personal life section, Sorbo is a Christian. I didn't know.
He lists himself as he grew up Lutheran, but he goes to a non-denominational Christian church.
Yes.
That knows better than you.
Well, I will say,
I think that's the name of the church. Isn't
he's currently fighting. He's currently fighting the great battle against vaccines, which thank God.
And he's doing it with an axe.
Yeah.
By this axe, I will be infected.
Hey, in 2017, he made his directorial debut in a film that starred him and Sean Hannity. That's true.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
when you want your first film, you want it to be populated with non-actors. That's a rule.
It'll make your direction seem amazing.
Literally, here are the first 4 people listed in the cast, or I'm sorry, 5 people listed in the cast of his directorial debut, which is called Let There Be Light.
Please make sure you say the name of the movie so people can find it.
It is called Let There Be Light.
Oh, that sounds good.
Sure. Yeah. And these are the Kevin Sorbo, Sam Sorbo, Braden Sorbo, Shane Sorbo are the 5 top billed. So his wife and 2 kids and him are the stars of this movie. And then also Travis Tritt and Sean Hannity. So an amazing, I'm sure that's a hell of a picture.
Well, what I say to Travis Tritt is, here's a quarter.
Yeah.
Call someone who watched the movie.
Oh, nice. All I can say is I hope they had plenty of mullet wigs to go around.
Oh, boy.
I hope they saved some.
I hope Kevin Sorbo is having a good time at the Poughkeepsie Comic Con that he's currently at right now.
I hope they didn't charge him full for the
He's in
Cinnabon.
a convention hall somewhere right
now.
The
Fan Expo in Poughkeepsie.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get Randy Quaid, so instead...
We need some other crazy guy to... He and Dean Cain are doing a panel somewhere about... pro-life.
They're exposing what all the dark-skinned people are up to.
Yeah.
Right.
And thank God they're looking out for the white guys.
Well, let's turn now.
It's the exotic actor is the one that's the demon-possessed one who...
Let's turn now to some highs and lows. Let's talk about some people who liked or disliked this movie.
Oh, my God. What high could there possibly be? Even... MAGA members.
This is before all that stuff came out about him.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is Sorbo was just, he was Lance Hardcheese. Exactly. He was just
this
made
guy,
it through all the
guy.
stuff and into his Gene Roddenberry knockoff sci-fi show.
I watched a lot of
people.
I watched a lot of Andromeda. No one's surprised by that. I watched Andromeda.
Okay.
Not surprised, but disappointed.
Oh, yes. Please! I watched.
Were you watching it for the inevitable Majel Barrett Roddenberry cameo?
Oh, of course, yeah, obviously, yeah. I had to. I was like, when are they going to get her in there? So, anyway, this comes to us from IMDb user Jenny's Savior.
Her.
Yeah. Who titles the review?
Isn't she name checked in the Ballad of Mac the Knife?
Yeah,
I think that's right. Jenny Savior.
Jenny Savior. Kevin Sorbo.
Okay. All right. Moving on.
Lucy Brown.
All right. Enough.
That's going to be the next 3 hours of this podcast. Brendan will have passed out by then. No.
I just want water and more ibuprofen. Thank you.
Yeah. The review is titled, "There should be public apologies for films like this." The beginning of this is great. My dear, what has happened here? I am one of the greatest fans of sword and sorcery films ever. I can enjoy almost all of them. I have seen all the sword and sorcery films I can find. I
Hawk
even
the Slayer?
liked...
See that? Hawk the Slayer?
I think
Did you
they're
see
talking
one?
about that. I even liked Wizards of the Lost Kingdom a
That's
lot.
saying something. That's saying something.
Oh.
But this movie
Oh,
was a
it's the gauntlet.
complete waste of my time.
Yeah, you think?
I bought it for $2 at a local video sale, which
$2.
which makes a lot of this 100% is the kind of movie that would be in those big bins at Walmart when they would just dump
And they're not even in the
DVDs.
If you don't get it at a
case.
Stuckey's in a barrel,
Yeah.
They're not even in a plastic case. They're in the paper. Like the
I'm gonna have a pecan log, and hey,
Please.
look, Kull is on sale for $2.
Yeah.
Honey, let's get Kull.
Oh, we used to buy
Hey.
we used to buy VHSs from McDonald's when I was a kid.
We spent all our money on this CD. That's the greatest hits of Travis Tritt.
Hi man, hi, Kevin Sorbo's got a
There's
movie
his
in here,
friend
man.
Kevin Sorbo in a Kull movie. We gotta get that.
Hey, he played Conan. Oh wait, no, it's not Conan.
No.
Oh, hold on.
He was in Conan,
Conan.
The Legendary Journeys,
He
right?
was, I think he was Tarzan, but not the one we're thinking of.
Yeah.
No, the other one.
That
It's
is
all the same.
that is
It's
exactly how
good.
Kevin Sorbo should be remembered. Tarzan,
Give
but
me
not
some
the
more
one
of
you
that
think.
pecan log so I
Yeah.
can think about this very important
All right,
purchase.
so back to Jenny Saviour's opinion. I bought it for $2 at a local video sale, and after watching it, I felt ripped off. The
What?
main reason for me getting it was that the script was by Charles Edward Pogue, a man who I have a lot of respect for after The Fly and Psycho 3. But I couldn't see a trace of his usual good work here. Was it producer interference? I won't. Yes, is the answer. But I couldn't see a trace of his usual good work here. Was it I won't bother with the plot or the acting or lighting and direction, except to say that they are all terrible. I thought the lighting was actually fine.
Lighting was okay.
Yeah, the lighting was okay. Everything else I'm on board with. This feels like a movie done by a bad commercial director, e.g., no understanding of narrative or character. That's fair. But I guess what I find most objectionable about this film is there was no entertainment value or originality whatsoever. Even in some of the very worst films, there can be weird or inventive or hilarious sequences just due to experimentation. But there was nothing here. I'm sorry to be so critical, but really, please avoid 1 out of 10 stars. I do kind of agree with that. There's not even people.
No.
A lot of the other 1-star reviews are like, "This is hilariously bad." It's not. It's not funny, bad. It's not. It's just bad.
No.
But I agree with Jenny Savior. So
Good on Jenny
I
Savior.
hope, yeah, I hope you didn't end up meeting Mac the Knife.
I'm not going to read this one, but I'll just say one of the 10-star reviews is just titled, "One of my best friends played a small role in this film." I like that. All right.
Brendan, isn't that the review you gave to Island Zero? Wasn't that the review you gave to that movie?
Yeah.
My brother was in this.
My brother was in Island Zero.
Yeah.
10 stars.
Okay.
I am genetically related to someone who walked through a frame.
Okay. Okay. This is. Oh, here we go. This comes to us from Saxon Princess. Titles their review "A Great Movie."
Says Saxon Princess.
Saxon Princess.
I beg the citizens of Saxony to overthrow your ruling family. A coup is in order at this point.
So
by this smartphone do I rule?
Yeah. Really apparently focused on the okay, here we go. Really focused on specific acts of this movie because it starts with rock music, fantasy realm, cool battle scenes. Okay, not the most perfect movie in the world, but still a good movie. Then goes on to describe the plot for a little bit, which I don't need to read. Kull the Conqueror was actually meant to be Conan 3, but due to Arnie not wanting to reprise his role and Kevin not wanting to redo a character already played, note, however, the Kull story entitled By This Axe I Rule is very similar to the storyline of this movie and is more likely basis for the movie. That's not true, but that's all right. After all is said and done, though, this fantasy movie mixed with a great soundtrack of heavy rock music, we have a superb movie made to entertain us on a rainy day. 2 out of 2 for actors. This is the first person I've ever seen do the math on 10 stars for them. Here it comes.
Oh, wow.
2 out of 2 for the actors' roles. 2 out of 2 for the excellent scenery. 4 out of 4 for the storyline. 2 out of 2 for the production, directing, script, and overall areas of the movie. Add up to 10 out of 10 stars.
Unfortunately, all of your math is wrong.
Yeah,
and
we're gonna have to send that report back to the lab.
But that kick-ass
is part of your permanent record.
Yeah, that kick-ass soundtrack, man.
No,
is
John.
Really
John,
good.
stop it.
Yeah,
it's real good.
Guys, no, it's not. Guys, stop it.
It is the best thing in the movie.
Guys, Big Joe Turner just came back from the grave to kill you because it's not a very good rock and roll soundtrack.
No, it's not. That's the thing. Even with the electric guitars that are poorly used, they don't sound very cool. Like the atmosphere of this movie is not rockin' badassery.
They're over compensatory.
Yeah.
Boy, I've struggled on that word.
Yeah.
They're trying to really convince you that this is awesome and exciting. And
just like you were trying to convince us that you could pronounce that word.
Yeah. I took, but you know what? I made that leap.
Yeah.
I made the leap.
You made the call leap. You went for the call.
Well, there it is. Kull the Conqueror. Another not great movie based on a pulp hero. This is shocking to me.
And I will say Robert E. Howard has not been treated well, except for, I would say, twice. The first Conan film and the only Solomon Kane film are both good.
Yeah.
But that guy has not...
I would say there's a third film you're forgetting, Brennan. That, of course, is the one with Vincent D'Onofrio and Renee Zellweger.
The Whole Wide World or something like that?
Whole Wide World.
Yeah.
I like that movie.
It's a good movie, but I'm just saying that's not what I was getting at.
I know. You're talking about his work.
I thought for a second he was going to be like, Brendan, have you seen the Momoa Conan? Because...
No.
There are aspects.
Aquaman is a better Conan movie than that.
Actually, you're right. Although I still think that I still think that casting is really good. I like Momoa in the part, but we'll get to that. Movie.
Momoa could have been a good Conan. They just didn't give him a
there are aspects of that movie I like, but it gets bogged down particularly. We'll get to it by the era it was made in.
Tell me what we're doing next week.
Well, something that will definitely
an
episode that will definitely not lead to rage and Brendan screaming a lot. So
giving himself a mic.
I will give the tagline here, which I think, and I will read it in the appropriate tone I believe the filmmaker intends me to read it.
Okay.
My city screams.
Okay.
She is my lover, and I am her spirit.
Oh,
that's right, folks. It is Frank Miller's, Will Eisner's The Spirit. Yeah.
Guys, this is what we skipped the Sam Jones TV movie for.
We don't do TV movies. You got to come out in theaters. My hot take is I don't hate this movie, but that's the only thing. I'm not going to come in massively in defense of it, but I don't hate it.
Okay, that's a real hot take, John.
Yeah, that's that. But that,
I hate it on every level, except for there are people in it that I like.
An exceptional cast, actually. A really good cast.
I'll put it to you this way: a lot of beautiful women, and I slept through half of it. That's my take. My original.
So we're gonna talk. Yes, we're gonna talk Frank Miller's, Will Eisner's The Spirit.
Right.
Next week on the show.
Next week.
Yeah, but of course, if you want more from us, you can head over to our Patreon page, which is patreon.podbean.com/punchup for cool exclusive bonus content, as well as help support all the shows on the Punch Up Entertainment Network, including hearing this crew right here talk about not only bonus pulp episodes, but we also have a whole show about the career of Vincent Price that you can enjoy over there.
Yeah, we do.
Oh boy. Boy, talk about the anti-Sorbo, huh?
I would say that those might be the polar opposite ends of
I've
film
noticed.
acting.
I've never seen those two in the same room at the same time.
No, I'm not going to allow it.
My greatest performance.
That's not allowed in this dojo.
My greatest performance is that of Kevin Sorbo.
I mastered my speech impediment in order to sound bored and disaffected.
The greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing people that Kevin Sorbo and Vincent Price were two separate people.
I love the end of Usual Suspects where they say that.
God. Jekyll, in this case, is much more interesting than Hyde. That's all.
Amen, brother.
Well, that's so until next week, though, the case file is closed.